We got two different topics today. I don't know which one we really want to start.
It's Mark and the Fan Podcast.
If he returns, Randy Orton.
Hosted by the militant Mark Magnum and the Cisco Kid.
Triple H is still the main man creative.
For now. All right. We're going to welcome you to another episode of the Mark and the Fan Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Magnum.
And I am the Cisco Kid, Chris Cloyd.
And we're going to talk about a little bit of wrestling like we always do. And today, we're going to have two different topics, but the first one we're going to start off with is the top 5 moments in WrestleMania history. And I'll let you start, and we're going to go from 5 to 1, as we always do. But Chris, I'll let you go first. Let the Cisco Kid get after it.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. My number 5 WrestleMania moment for me comes at WrestleMania 31.
Oh.
Sting versus Triple H. Had mixed feelings on how the match went, but what made that a top moment for me was DX returning and the NWO returning. Wow. It was just awesome.
Oh, I didn't see that one being on your list, but okay, that's not a bad moment at all, because I mean, that was a good match. I mean, I think that was one of Sting's last truly good matches. I mean, I've watched some of what he's done in AEW, and I mean, I like to see that, you know, he's this old and he's still out there doing it, but part of me worries for his safety sometimes when I'm seeing him jumping off the top of the entrance ramp and some of the stuff he's been doing. But yeah, that's not a bad pick at all. But let me go into mine, and my number 5 it goes all the way back to WrestleMania 4. And this is going to be a biased pick because, as you know, Macho Man is my favorite wrestler of all time. And it was when Macho Man won the WWE Championship, or actually he was, and a lot of people get this confused because they say, you know, Jericho was the first undisputed champion. And we can argue over whether that's correct or not, because what I'm going to say is, and for his entire run, that whole year that he was champion, they kept announcing Macho Man as the undisputed WWE champion. So in my opinion, Macho Man was the first undisputed WWE champion. Jericho was number 2, and everybody else that follows after those guys. But I mean, it was, like I said, it's a biased pick for me. I was kind of torn in a way of picking WrestleMania 7 when Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth reunited, because that's one of those moments you remember where you were at when it happened, just like this at least for me, and it's same way with the WrestleMania 4 moment. So that was my pick, was Macho Man winning at WrestleMania 4. What do you got for number?
Yeah,
what do you got?
I remember that, and that was a very awesome moment. Number 4 is just this whole darn WrestleMania. It's too much to pick. I love almost everything of WrestleMania 6. The opening, the excitement of Gorilla and Jesse, and just Andre turning babyface again.
Turning on Heenan and slapping him. Or paintbrushing him, as Gorilla called it.
Absolutely. The funny stuff with Steve Allen in the back and the piano.
God,
and
yeah.
I mean, it was just one, like the worst match on there is still easily viewable. Just everything.
What the Coco match?
There you
Coco
go.
and
The
Boss
very
Man?
first, the first one, Coco and
It was Boss Man, I thought.
the model,
the
Rick
model was the
Martel.
model. I'm sorry, I'm
the
thinking of a different
theme.
era.
I mean, the crowd into it. You know, we got, maybe it's the Canadian part, because we got another strong thing from the chamber match with this excitement of the crowd, and that. Not only is that my 4th favorite moment, but that's easily my favorite WrestleMania. But it's just too hard to pick. But then, of course, the finale of Warrior and Hogan, the showdown, was just fantastic in my eyes. Marcus, what about your 4th big moment, brother?
My 4th big moment, and this I honestly should have put higher, but I put priority on how I did this list on what should be at number 1. So my number 4 is the double turn at WrestleMania 13 between Austin and Bret Hart, where you had Austin in the sharpshooter, and you know he was bleeding, and and he ends up passing out and that whole deal, and then Bret Hart attacking him after the match and Ken Shamrock getting involved and just that whole deal. And then, the fans booing Bret as he leaves and he goes on about his business. And then as Austin comes back up and the fans are slowly chanting for Austin. And I mean, I think that was the true genesis for Stone Cold Steve Austin, because he already had won King of the Ring at that point to where he was already on the right trajectory to be a star. But I think that was truly when he became that tweener, the true tweener babyface that can do no wrong and can beat up anybody, and the fans are going to cheer for what he's doing. So for me, the fourth is easily Austin, and the double turn with Bret Hart. It was a great moment.
Yeah, WrestleMania 13. My cousin got to go to that, and I'm so jealous about that one. Yeah, that was awesome, Marcus. Yeah, my number 3 is real recent. It's last year's WrestleMania 38, and it gets down to the aftermath of the Austin Theory McAfee match. That match there, pretty cool. Nothing too spectacular, but it's what happens at the end, the drama. Vince McMahon coming in and helping out his new protege, Austin Theory, and he's celebrating, and then, boom, Stone Cold returned, and my gosh, to me, as good as Austin and Owens was the night before, this right here just was my highlight of that WrestleMania, and it was so high that that's my third favorite WrestleMania moment.
Well, I mean, Austin coming back was awesome anyway, because there was the rumors the entire time last year for WrestleMania, whether he was going to wrestle, if it was just going to be an in-ring segment where it was just him and Kevin Owens, and maybe Owens gets stunned in the end. I mean, they announced it in a way where we were on, like, Austin was on the fence, like he didn't know if he wanted to or if he was going to. It was one of those, let me see how I feel that day. And he ended up giving a great match. I mean, that was an awesome match. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't put that, because I'm a big Austin fan. I mean, I've already got him on my list, obviously, but that wasn't, for me, that wasn't the moment. The moment for me was at WrestleMania 13, but that's definitely stunners everywhere. I mean, anytime Austin gets in there, I love it. But
what's your third, Marcus?
Into my number 3, and I mean, I don't care for him as a person. I never really cared for him as a wrestler, and I'll just leave it at that. But my number 3 is what WWE's programming starts off with. WrestleMania 3, the Body Slam, Andre and Hogan. That's my number 3. That's my number 3 from WrestleMania 3. Excuse me, too many threes. And I think that's just one of those moments, because the match itself wasn't that great. I mean, you had Macho Man versus, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat on that show. So, I mean, there was other matches that blew them out of the water. It was just the main event and how it was hyped, and Andre's so big and Hogan's pretty big too. So, I mean, I get the contrast of why overall in the history and the overall looking lore of wrestling, it's looked upon fondly. If you watch the match, it's horrible, in my opinion. Like, you could see that Andre, I mean, he wasn't at the end of his rope wrestling wise, but it was one of those where you could definitely see he was slowing down, and Hogan had to carry a lot of that match. And I mean, Hogan tried to, make it seem like, Andre died shortly after that match. Is like, as we just spoke about, Andre wrestled on WrestleMania 6, and I believe he appeared on 2 other WrestleManias after that, or at least one, I believe, after that. So, I mean, there's that there, and that just goes back to me not liking Hulk Hogan. But anyway, at the end of the day, despite how I feel about Hulk Hogan, I'll give him his just due. That was one of the moments as a kid, just seeing a guy Hogan's size picking up a guy even bigger than him and body slamming him. It was a moment. He hit the lame leg drop at the end, but like I said, it starts off the program, and that's just a moment you have to look on and think of it fondly, regardless how you feel about him. Yeah,
that's a great moment. We've mentioned it in one of our earlier podcasts, but that was probably my first memory was Hogan and Andre. Great choice there, brother. My second favorite WrestleMania moment goes back to WrestleMania 8 in the Hoosier Dome.
Uh-oh.
And double main event that night.
Yep.
Loved the Macho Man and Flair's match.
Yep. It was a good
A lot
match.
of blood. Very good seeing our boy. If he's biased like me, WWF fan, with Randy getting the win there. But my highlight of that night came a little bit later in the Hogan and Sid match. And I liked it. We seen Hogan. He hadn't really been kind of, I don't know, beat down maybe to that extent in a while, in my opinion. But it's what happens toward the end of it, Marcus. You've got Kama, the fighting machine, Kama.
Papa Shango.
Or Papa Shango,
yeah.
His
You're
earlier
right, though, on the
character.
person,
Papa
yes.
Shango coming out, and you got the ref bump with I believe Hogan throws Harvey Whippleman at the ref, and if it just stopped there, it would have been awesome, in my opinion. But then you hear the Warrior's music, and we hadn't seen Warrior in a little bit, and he made his tremendous comeback, comes out and bumps Papa Shango out, and then he comes and Sid's hit him with the chair. No
selling that.
No selling.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome at the very end. Hogan and Warrior raising the arms. Hogan's got the sign out. That to me, Marcus, is my second favorite WrestleMania moment of all time, brother.
That's not a bad moment. I mean, for me, it was a good moment to see Warrior back. He was a little was a little bit leaner. I remember as a kid, just like the whole rumor that wasn't the real Warrior. He's dead, and this is Kerry Von Erich, or the whole. I loved being a kid in that time because we didn't have the internet, so you either had to believe it or just come on now. That's not the truth, because you could recognize. I mean, you could see when other guys would go from other companies, or even when the original Doink the Clown, even under that face paint, I could tell it was Matt Bourne. But it is what it is. But I'll go into my number two, and my number two. It happened back in 2014, and it was at WrestleMania 30, and there's memes all about this one, and it was the end of The Undertaker's streak when Brock Lesnar defeated him. I mean, you got that one brother he's the forever meme, just for a lot of different things, just a look on his face, and just a look on everybody's face in that arena, because... And I was one of those ones that was angry because I don't think the Undertaker streak ever should have ended. He should have retired undefeated, because he didn't have, he had plenty of WWE title runs, but he didn't have long, sustained ones like Austin or even The Rock or Triple H or a lot of the guys that were around in that Attitude Era, to where I feel like, and he only won one Royal Rumble. So I feel like Undertaker, I think that would have been him kind of getting his flowers in a way. Because I don't think when they had him, I don't want to say they didn't do him right, because they obviously did the Undertaker right. But every time he had a title run, it was always short. And I'm an independent, former independent wrestler that wrestled for 12 years, and I was a heel for the longest, and I've been champion in plenty of companies. And when I was trained and just the things I learned, I was always of the understanding that the money's in the chase. The money's in the heel having the title. And for a lot of those different eras, Undertaker was heel. The Ministry of Darkness and just the original Undertaker. And there's money in the chase. And having the heel have the championship and having the babyface chase after that heel, or whichever babyface, kind of like what's going on with Roman and Cody and just all the people that we've talked about previously, that Roman has dominated.
Right.
That's why he's been the champion so long. That's why it's worked, because the money is in the chase. Think of the last babyface heavyweight champion that they've had in the modern era that's, been around and had the title that long. It's always been a heel. You had Triple H. You had a lot of guys. You had RVD, even though his situation when he won it was, I understand, he got caught doing some stuff. That's different. But when I look at other than Cena,
That's it. Yeah.
who else? It's always been the heel. Edge, even though some of his title runs weren't the longest, he always had it. He'd always get it back. Ric Flair, look at him back in the day. He was another one where he always had the belt. And if he didn't, he was about to get it back. Steamboat didn't have the title that long when Steamboat beat him. So, I mean, the money was in the chase, and I kind of got on a rant, and I apologize for that. But that was my number 2, the streak ending at WrestleMania 30 in 2014. So what do you got for your number 1? I can't wait to hear this one.
Folks, keep in mind, we have not seen each other's picks.
No, not at all.
This is off the fly,
legit.
everybody.
This is a legit shoot right here.
Because my number 1 WrestleMania moment of all time happens that same night, brother.
Okay. WrestleMania. Oh.
And you know what it's going to be.
I think I might have a feeling.
Folks, if you ever watched it, check it out. Just turn on the opening of WrestleMania 30. It's when Hogan comes out, which I believe is maybe the guest speaker for the night. A guest host, maybe.
Yeah.
But
because he announced the damn arena wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kept saying the Super or Silverdome instead of the Superdome. But it's like I said earlier, if it would have stopped there, that would have been awesome in my book. But then the glass shatters. You got Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out. The crowd is going berserk. And you're seeing 2 of my favorites of all time right there in the ring. And they could have ended it that night, folks. But then they do another exchange, and The Rock's music hits.
Yeah, boy.
And here comes The Rock. And as cool in my eyes as Hogan and Austin was, The Rock was even cooler. But he didn't let you think that. He said, I'm looking at my childhood hero. I'm looking at my good buddy Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the crazy lyrics he comes up with Piper and Sheamus, if you put them all together, will beat all their anuses. I mean, folks, it doesn't get any better than that. No matter what Marcus has as number 1. The opening of WrestleMania 30, Hogan, Austin, and The Rock comes out, and Jerry Lawler, and I believe JBL also said, I don't even know why we're having a WrestleMania because I don't know how we're going to top this. So that's my number 1, everybody. And last but not least, here is Marcus and his number 1.
All right. My number 1, I mean, we've been doing a lot of talking about WrestleMania and all the different moments. And like I said, I tried to prioritize my list. Not saying you did a bad job or anything like that. I'm just saying I tried to be thoughtful in my picks and not just be in the moment. So my number 1 pick, since we've been talking so much about WrestleMania and since WrestleMania is about 2 weeks away, is WrestleMania 1. Just the whole event in general, because you got to think of Vince putting it all on the line. I mean, you feel how you want to feel about Vince McMahon now. I think he's a scumbag too. I get that. But I'm thinking back in that time, he pushed all his chips to the center of the table, was at the risk of, losing everything if WrestleMania wasn't a success, to where we can't talk about all these other moments if we don't acknowledge WrestleMania 1. I mean, you got to think of the celebrity star power that he had. They had Cyndi Lauper, Mr. T, Liberace, Billy Martin from baseball. I mean, they had the Rockettes, Muhammad Ali. Do I need to say more on just the star power? And I mean, they had other celebrities too. I mean, you even had Mean Gene singing the Star Spangled Banner at the beginning of the show. Like, it was just, I mean, it set the tone for every WrestleMania going forward. I mean, granted, you watch it back, is it the greatest WrestleMania of all time? No, but it set the pace. And like I said, we wouldn't be able to talk about WrestleMania 30 or WrestleMania, 14 or WrestleMania 13 or WrestleMania whatever without the first WrestleMania. And like I said, you can think what you want about Vince. I'm right there with you. But I'll give him his just due. He put everything he had on the line. We can't talk about Hogan slamming Andre without WrestleMania 1. So that was my number 1 pick. But that was it for that end of what we're doing. Now we're going to go into the second part of our episode, and that's going to be our WrestleMania predictions. You want to start this? You want me to start it, brother?
Yeah, go ahead, Marcus. It's going to be a packed card, and real excited about this one.
Well, all right. I'm going to just, before we get too in-depth with this one, I'm going to just announce right now that we're recording this roughly about 2 weeks outside of WrestleMania. So they've got 2 showcase matches, tag team showcase matches, one men's and one women's. And they've only got Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez announced in the women's, and there's no men yet to be announced. So we're acknowledging that there is going to be those 2 matches, but There's nothing to predict on that one, so we're going to just skip on to the next one. And that one will be Edge and Finn Balor in the Hell in a Cell match. Now, this Judgment Day Edge saga has been going on since last year, shortly after WrestleMania last year, when Judgment Day was formed by Edge. Shortly after that, Judgment Day took him out and Finn Balor took control, even though they act like Finn's the leader, like we've talked about before. I believe Mommy's the leader. She could lead me anywhere she wanted. So I don't think that would be a problem at all, but I think that in this match, this has to be the end of this damn feud. I'm tired of it. And the aspect of how many times can we recycle this match? Because Edge right now is playing it up like Judgment Day always gets one up on him when there's been plenty of matches that Edge has just won. And I get that they're trying to build a blood feud and they're trying to make this be the big blow-off match for that feud. My prediction for this match, and because I keep, even though I'm retired, I still keep my ear to the ground on what I think is going to happen in wrestling. And for me, I've been hearing that they're going to push Finn Balor this year. So I want to predict that Finn is going to win this match. Now, before I let you give your prediction, I will say that the last several years for Edge at WrestleMania haven't been exactly the greatest. So he hasn't, I don't believe he's really, other than, when he came back, I don't believe he's had a win at WrestleMania since he's returned. So, I mean, that kind of makes me worry for Finn, because I think Finn should win this feud and put it in his rear view and be done with it. But anyway, what do you got for this match?
Well, I agree with everything you said there. I'm seeing more. I'm hoping they push Damian more with Judgment Day than Finn, but I'm not a big Finn fan.
Really?
I'm hoping Edge wins, because he is getting close to the end of a possible run. So I not only do I think Edge is going to win, I hope he wins, but I don't know where that leaves Finn for later. I don't know.
Part of me wants to agree with you that because if you listen to some of Edge's promos, he has been talking. You can tell he's starting to get to the end. And I know I don't know if he is 50 or he's close to almost 50. But he's starting to get up there, and we talked about Sting earlier. So eventually you're going to have to put the brakes on here. But I feel like with Edge, and especially with a lot of these legends and older guys that come back, I think it's his job to put over Finn. And because if you're retiring, Finn's going to be here when you're gone. And if you've smashed him into powder, what's left for Finn to do? I get it. I get it. I know they can book Finn and make him, put him back in a good spot. But for me right now, I get you're not the biggest Finn Balor fan. I love me some Finn Balor. I love Edge too, so don't get me wrong. But I think just psychology-wise, Edge doesn't need this match as much as Finn Balor does. I'll just say it like this. Think of all the Edge moments at WrestleMania. Plenty of them, right? Now,
how many
Finn Balor moments that we had at WrestleMania. That's why I think Finn Balor needs to win this match, and that's why I think he is going to. Because you think about Edge spearing Jeff Hardy when he was hanging from the top of the thing that was holding the titles at WrestleMania. Another great WrestleMania moment we didn't even acknowledge. So, there's so many Edge moments. Him defending the title against Alberto Del Rio in his last WrestleMania, that when he was still champion before he retired. There's plenty of other, if I sit here and think about Edge's career. Now I think about Finn, and he's been with the company for a long time. And
Finn needs it.
There's not one match that I can think of that, oh man, there's this. No, there's not one. So anyway, enough about that. We'll go into our next match, and it's the 6-woman tag team match that I'm kind of disappointed isn't for the tag titles, and it should be actually a tag title match. But I know Ronda Rousey apparently has got a hairline fracture or something to where I guess she's not going to be at WrestleMania. So they've got Trish Stratus, Lita, and Becky Lynch versus Damage Control of Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. Too many rhyming words in that last section of names there. But I'll go first on this one. And I don't really care, to be honest. And I hate to say that because I'm one of these guys that's big on, I'm not going to say women's wrestling, but making sure that they're at least presented properly. But with the build for this match, I don't care. And if I had to pick somebody, I mean, this is two legends, and in Trish Stratus and Lita, this kind of goes back to my thing about Edge. Like, should you put over the younger talent? And then I also hear rumors that maybe Trish is going to turn on Becky and Lita. So there's a lot of different ways this can go. My prediction is Damage Control needs this because they have gotten so stale since they debuted last year at SummerSlam. So I think they need this. They need this big moment. Bayley hasn't been on a WrestleMania in several years. So this is just good for her that she's even going to be on the damn card. So if I'm booking it, it's Damage Control. But my prediction is also Damage Control. What do you got, man?
Very good, Marcus. Yeah. Damage Control. I think the world of Bayley. I think she's outstanding. Io Sky. I like a lot of her stuff, her aerial maneuvers. But I'll be honest with you. I wasn't a big Trish and Lita fan back in the day.
Wow, really?
Love me some Sunny. I went kind of that route. But
who didn't love Sunny back then? She was the most downloaded woman in AOL history back then.
But I think Trish and Lita, Trish, we haven't seen a lot here lately, just a little bit, but I think Lita looks, of course, got some ring rust, but looks outstanding. And Becky, just absolutely amazing. I understand where Damage Control needs this win more than the two legends with Becky, but I'm going for the legends and Becky. But I think Damage Control, I have to agree with you. I think they're going to do a little cheating, perhaps, if there is any. So I'm wanting Trish, Lita, and Becky to win, but I see Damage Control winning at WrestleMania.
All right. Before I get into the next one, I just want to say with what you just said, with Lita in them, I don't care. But I feel like, because the next match we're about to get into, I feel like there's a lot of older talent on this card. And it's going to be a shame if I watch this show and there's going to be a lot of older talent going over. And I think that's going to be a massive problem, but that's just my nitpick for that. But we'll go into the next one, and that's going to be Austin Theory versus John Cena for the United States Championship. I will let you tackle this one first.
Yeah, Marcus, this one's one of my favorite hyped up moments for this year's WrestleMania. Just seeing John return. The obvious thing the fans are probably thinking is, okay, Cena's going to come out and get the big pop, and then Theory's going to beat the legend. But I'm throwing one out there. I think Theory should win, but I think they're gonna swerve us, bro. They're gonna do a swerve, and I haven't seen Cena do much movies lately. I think he's coming back to wrestle more than he has in a long time.
Really?
I think Cena might surprise us all and beat the young and up and comer.
Okay, well, I'll go into my picks. If I'm looking at what they've got announced so far, minus the tag team showcase matches, we've got Edge, Hall of Famer, Lita, Hall of Famer, Trish, Hall of Famer, Cena, at some point, obviously, will be a Hall of Famer. This goes into my whole point of a lot of older talent on this show. And like I said, I'm going to be disappointed if a lot of older talent that's not going to be there from week to week. Yeah, I'm telling you, Cena's not. I don't think. I'll disagree with you on that one. I don't think Cena's coming back. I don't see Trish being a fixture on Raw or SmackDown. Lita, the same thing. I don't see. We've already talked about Edge, and him being at the end of his rope, and he's about ready to hang it up. He's already talked about how he wants to retire somewhere in Canada. So there's that. So the first three matches we've talked about have legends and Hall of Famers in them. So if I'm booking this, Theory, That's the reason you bring Cena in, to give this kid the rub and to make him feel more important. And that, just the way Cena demolished him 2 weeks ago on Raw when they had their in-ring segment and their little promo segment that they did, and Cena just demolished him. And, you know, Austin Theory's only comment was his hairline. So, I mean, like, Theory needs this. Cena definitely does not need this. He doesn't even need wrestling, to be honest. Like, he's doing quite well in acting. So I don't think he needs to win this match. Like I said, I think this is a chance to give him, Austin Theory, the rub, and make people, all right, man, he beat Cena. Maybe we do need to take this kid, even though I know he hates being called that, but maybe we do need to take this kid seriously, and maybe he is the future. Maybe he is the future John Cena. I'm doing air quotes. I know you people can't see me because we're not recording this on video, but still, like, I think Austin Theory has to win this match. But that's my pick for that one. And we'll go into another match, and that is Gunther, the Intercontinental Champion, defending against Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. I will start with this one, Gunther, and that's all I have to say. Gunther. I mean, granted, I know people want to see Sheamus, finally win that Intercontinental title. I think eventually he will. I think Sheamus will be the guy to beat Gunther. And I think this match is going to be further, more of a reason that Sheamus is going to be that guy, because I think somehow maybe Drew's the one that takes the pin in this match, to where Sheamus feels like, I didn't lose this match, you did. And maybe, Sheamus somehow, they run it back somehow at another pay-per-view, maybe months down the road, to where eventually SummerSlam or something, to where Sheamus gets this moment there. Because I do think Sheamus deserves to have that one last chip. He's won every damn thing else. King of the Rings, Royal Rumbles, you name it, he's won it all. Money in the Bank, he's done it all. So what else is there left for him to do besides this? So I like to say Sheamus, but like I said, Gunther all day. I think they're going to build him up. I think he's going to be as they should. I think he's going to be the guy that breaks the Honky Tonk Man's record for longest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Because not to hate on the Honky Tonk Man, but I kind of think it's a joke. Not a joke, but he's the guy, not Macho Man, not Steamboat, not Mr. Perfect, not Rick Rude, not even the Ultimate Warrior. Honky Tonk Man. So I think that there's no point in taking the belt off Gunther right now, especially if you're going to build up to that moment. So my pick's Gunther. What do you got?
Well, it should be Gunther. He's so impressive to us fans. I mean, brings that element of old school wrestling. And if it was Gunther versus Drew or Gunther versus Sheamus, I would easily say Gunther. But Marcus, I think they're gonna swerve us again. I would like Gunther to win, and he was bringing up Sheamus, all his possibilities, but I think Drew McIntyre's going to win that night.
Okay. Well, one thing I do want to say, I want to say this as a wrestler, because when I wrestled, and I hate to always go back to this, but when I wrestled and I was trained, and just the years I spent on the indies and whatnot, when you have a match and you look at this on paper, you've got two baby faces versus a heel. Now, normally in the psychology of this match, the heel should win somehow. Just like when it's the reverse of this and you have two heels and a baby face. The heels work together for a while until eventually one of the heels goes for a pin on that baby face, and then all hell breaks loose between those two heels. To where the way I was trained, the way I look at wrestling and how the psychology of this match should go, something should happen with Drew and Sheamus to where Gunther capitalizes on that, and that's how he wins. Like I said, to where somehow Drew takes the pin, to where Sheamus is kind of like, what the hell? I didn't get beat, but the structure of the triple threat rules, obviously he lost the match too, but he wasn't the one that took the crucial pin. So I think there's a way to run that back, but you could be right. You could be totally right, and Drew wins this, and they don't go with what I know in wrestling, or what I've known to know in wrestling is you got two heels and a baby face. The baby face should win. And if you got two faces and a heel, the heel should win. That's how it was structured. When I used to wrestle, if there was two heels, baby face was probably going over, because eventually the two heels are going to argue about one of them trying to pin when the other one, and that whole scenario that we've seen, that the trope in wrestling that we've seen for so long. But It's an interesting match. That's out of all of them, that's one of the matches I'm looking forward to the most. Not to, throw shade at Sammy and them or throw shade at Roman and them, but this is one of those matches because I know it's going to deliver. It's going to be a lot of stiff potatoes getting thrown out by everybody in that one. So I look forward to it. But enough about that. We'll go on to the next one, and that's Brock Lesnar versus Omos with MVP. I will let you drop kick this one first.
Well, you're hearing the internet buzz, ladies and gentlemen. There are a lot of fans not digging this one.
I'm one of them.
But guess what? Once again, I'm in the minority. This is probably my fifth favorite match I want to see during WrestleMania.
Wow.
I do think it's going to go quick.
Oh, yeah.
Brock's going to have a lot of trouble getting the big man up, in my opinion. But if anybody can stop Brock Lesnar, it's the 7-3 Nigerian Nightmare. I want Brock to win, but folks, this might be almost tonight.
What?
What do you think, brother?
What? We can't be friends no more. What are you talking? What? Oh my God. Are you okay? So, here's how I look at it. And I talked about this on my podcast a few weeks ago when they announced this match. And here's how I feel about it. MVP's playing this up like Brock Lesnar's not going to be able to F5 Omos. For me, it's like, have you forgotten about Big Show or Mark Henry or some of these other big guys that Brock Lesnar has F5'd with absolutely, positively no problem? Now, all of a sudden, we have Omos, and I'm not, hating on Omos like that. I don't think he's the worst big man in history. I'll leave that for like the Giant Silva or somebody, or the Giant Gonzalez or Elegante, if you want to, whichever one you want to go with on that. But I am not too excited for this match. I'm with you. It is going to be a quick one. If it lasts 5 minutes, I'll be surprised. But I'm expecting an F5, maybe some suplexes. I'm expecting Omos to do something. I don't think he's going to get squashed or anything. But at the end of the day, even though, for me, what we've been talking about this entire time was about old timers and legends and older talent, not putting younger talent over. Omos is that one. I guess not. He's not that young, but he's younger than Brock. I'm sorry, Omos is not even close to on Brock's level. And if I don't see an F5, at least two of them, I'm going to be highly disappointed. But yeah, I'm picking Brock Lesnar in this match, no problem. Like I said, I believe you. I'm with you on that. It ain't going to last long at all. It's just a matter of how many F5s we're going to see, because I don't think that, and I don't think people are buying it either, that, Brock Lesnar, you can't pick up Omos. Really? I guess you haven't been watching the last 20 years of WWE programming and what destruction Brock Lesnar lays down when he gets in the ring. But anyway, we're going to go on to the first women's heavyweight or title match, whatever. And that is going to be Bianca Belair versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. And I'll start on this one. Oh, man. I'm still disappointed that it's not Rhea versus Bianca, because I just the wrestler in me wants to see that match, just because I recognize good talent when I see it. And Bianca has been very good. And Rhea has finally, I think, hit her stride. I think when they first called her up, I don't think that, they had an actual plan for her when she beat Asuka a couple years ago at WrestleMania. I think, we need somebody to beat Asuka. You're the one. And she kind of floundered for the last year and a half, 2 years. And now, since she's been a part of Judgment Day and her being mommy now and the thing with Dominic, and just everything's clicking for Rhea right now. But unfortunately, she chose Charlotte. But back to this match, I want to say Bianca, but part of me wants to say I'm starting to get tired of her. And I don't want her to become Cena or Roman, where Bianca always wins. And you brought back Asuka in a way with a new packaging and a new gimmick and a new look and new music and new everything, just to have her lose to Bianca at WrestleMania. Bianca's one that she's main evented, some WrestleMania. She's won women's championships at the last 2 WrestleManias, beating Becky and Sasha Banks. So it's like, for me, I don't think she needs to win. She can lose finally, because her reign, I don't want to say has been crappy, but it's not setting the world on fire either. And I want to see Asuka, because she's getting up there. I don't want to say her age, but I know she's getting up there. And how many more years you're going to have Asuka at a prime level, working at the level she's still working at now? So for me, I'm picking this Asuka. That's who I want, and that's who I think is going to win this match.
Yeah, I agree with you, Marcus. That Bianca, it's getting stale to some, but I can't picture her as a heel. I wish the crowd would enjoy her more, like I do, as a baby face. Asuka, you're right, repackaged her. I like the other Asuka better. That's just me.
Okay.
But I think on that night, I want to see Bianca win. But I have to agree with you. I think Asuka takes it.
I got you. And before we go on to the next one, I do want to say this is another match that I think they did a terrible build for. Like, I'm not excited at all to see. I mean, I am for the talent, but they've done nothing to personally get me invested like they have with the Bloodline storylines and other things that are going to be happening at WrestleMania. Even, Gunther and, Sheamus and Drew, there's a story there. There's really not a story here besides Asuka getting in the ring and letting mist stream down her face and she laughs, and there's been no contact between the two. I mean, granted, there's still 2 weeks left, but it shouldn't take this long to make me want to give a damn about a match. But on to the next match, and that is Charlotte Flair defending the SmackDown Women's title against Rhea Ripley, old mommy herself. I'll let you start off this one, brother. What do you got?
Well, I know you like Rhea better than me.
Oh, I love me some Rhea.
I think Charlotte is not only the best wrestler today, or best female wrestler today, but the best female wrestler of all time. With that said, though, make this short and sweet. I wished it was Charlotte due to how young Rhea is, but I'm betting it all that Rhea Ripley leaves as champ.
All right. Charlotte is one of the best. I want to, before I say she's the best of all time, I want to see her whole entire body of work once she's retired to say that, because there could be somebody that comes along that catches fire. But is she in the conversation? Oh, of course. No question. But with Charlotte and Rhea, they're telling the story that Charlotte's already beat Rhea. So that's Rhea's motivation. I mean, granted, they could do this like they did with Austin and Rock for several WrestleManias where you guys wrestle at WrestleMania and just somehow, and what I'm talking about with Austin, Austin just got the better of you 2 times in a row, and maybe it takes 3 matches. I don't know where they're going with this, but strike while the iron's hot, damn it. Rhea is over as Rover. Like, I mean, she's a heel, but I mean, you can hear the guys cheering, you can hear the women cheering, you can hear children cheering. Like, I mean, they still get booed, don't get me wrong. Yes, they're a heel act, I know that, but there's very few people, especially females, because I've talked about this on my podcast before, that you see the Candice LeRae's and, all the Mia Yims or Meechin or whatever her name is this week. Like, all the different females. The Tegan Nox, she was just on SmackDown. Nobody gave a damn. Shotzi, nobody gave a damn. Rhea comes out, people give a damn. And I know they give a damn about Charlotte too, but it's like Charlotte's had so many WrestleMania moments. And I know Rhea's just, she hadn't been on the main roster that long. I get that. But we need to start giving her some moments. And I think this WrestleMania is going to be that year to start that. And I think she's going to beat Charlotte Flair. So that's my pick. And we've only got 2 more left out of the matches that were announced. So we'll go into the Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins match. I'm waiting for this to turn into something else or be like a no disqualification match or a Falls Count Anywhere match. I don't think it's just, it could. They may not change the step on this one, but I feel like they might change the step because I can see these guys getting into it a little bit more leading into WrestleMania where it gets a little bit more personal to where maybe they need to add a step to this because, we've only really got one stipulation match so far on this entire card. And so I feel like if all you've got is a Hell in a Cell match with, Edge and Finn Balor, you might need a couple more stipulation matches. Granted, they could still, announce more matches. But with this, I think if I'm predicting this one, I'm saying Logan Paul. Seth doesn't need this win. Granted, he's done lost, last year to Cody, and I get that. But I don't see this being their last match. I see them wrestling again because I know they're supposed to be going over to Saudi for the King of the Ring tournament. I could see them wrestling again over there, and maybe Seth gets the dub over there. That's just my personal opinion, but I think Logan Paul is going to win at WrestleMania in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that I have to agree with you. Logan Paul, you know, a lot of folks don't like the outside celebrities coming into the business. But, man, whether we like him or not, this guy is impressive. And I also think it won't end that night. I think their feud will continue.
Yes.
Like you said, into later dates and events. But I see Logan Paul really irritating that Hollywood crowd when he goes over Rollins that night.
Got you. So that's your pick, Logan. Got you. All right, before we get into the main event, there's one match that I just thought of that is not on this list. It hasn't been announced, but we know it's going to happen, and that's Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos for the Undisputed Tag Team Championship. Hasn't been officially announced yet, I don't believe, and if it has, I just haven't heard. But we're going to get into that one before we go into the main event for night 2. I'll start. The Usos have been a great tag team. Their run, because we've talked about other champions in the company, they've had title runs that have been stale, like Bianca. Their run has not. Their run has been interesting the entire time. There were some teams, you could probably quibble about and say, that wasn't the best. But overall, when I look at how when I look at this in totality, for where they started and where they're at now, the Bloodline still is the best storyline in wrestling. And Sami and Kevin need their revenge, I believe, in this match. The Usos have had the title long enough, and they've kind of clogged up the tag team division because the other tag teams, if you're on Raw, the tag team champions are also on SmackDown. So you have no actual team, or teams, I should say, that have something to go for besides the Usos. There's not like it was when there was a belt on Raw and a belt on SmackDown. All these tag teams are fighting to get a shot at one tag team instead of two. And I hope eventually they split the tag team titles up, which I've heard rumors they plan on. Same with the heavyweight titles. So we'll see where that goes. But like I said, I'm picking Sami and Kevin to win this match. This is going to be a big moment. I know they're talking about possibly making this the main event of night 1. They're kind of torn on making it Rhea and Charlotte, which I understand the story and everything with the Bloodline and Sami and all that. And yes, storyline-wise, it probably should be main, but this will be a WrestleMania that the woman that wins the Royal Rumble's not headlining one of the nights. That'd be like having Cody not headline night 2. That's the whole point of the Royal Rumble, to headline WrestleMania. So we'll see where that goes, but that's my pick, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. What do you got?
Yeah, I hope it goes that way, Marcus. The Usos, I'm in the group that, I was liking Jay, like Jimmy at first, but I'd love to see KO and Sami beat him. But those little rascals, man, they just pull it off time after time. And I think due to the main event on night 2, I think the Usos keep the belts, bro.
Really? I mean, there's something to be made there because depending on where this story is going, because let's just say the Usos retain, but Roman loses. Because we've talked about this before in previous podcasts of if the Usos lose and maybe if Roman still retains, maybe he's looking at them some type of way like you guys need to get back on top. But they could do it the opposite way. I mean, that's the great thing that we've talked about before about this Bloodline storyline, that there's so many ways that this could go, so many angles or, just so many directions this could go in. But with Roman and having it to where the Usos are still champions and Roman's the one that doesn't have a belt now, that's mouthwatering television for me, just to see how he will react. Granted, though, I think that when Roman loses, because I think he is going to lose at WrestleMania, I'll get that prediction out early, I guess. But I feel like Cody's, that's his deal, and Roman is going to be, I think he's going to take time off. And granted, he don't work the most hectic schedule, but I think this is the time for him to take time away, let fans kind of not forget about Roman, but go away for a while. And then when you come back, maybe he comes back as a baby. Who knows what they'll do with Roman? But I think that's going to be an interesting storyline. If, like what you're saying, if the Usos retain and somehow Cody ends up getting the dub on Roman, that'll be interesting to see how the bloodline works then. But I guess it's already spoiled mine for my prediction, I guess, because I'm stupid and don't realize we haven't done it yet. But we'll do the main event anyway, and that's Roman versus Cody. What do you got, man? Because I already said who I got.
Well, every guy I say is going to beat Roman fails.
Yeah, that's been a trend for the last 2 years.
Exactly.
Years
and I'm going to miss him. I am. I'm one of the oddballs. I'm going to miss it with Roman being the freaking man. I know it's supposed to be Seth Rollins, but it's Roman. But this is the last time I'm going against you there, Roman. So if you can pull this one off, man, I'll never say you'll lose again. But yeah, I believe Roman's days are numbered as a Universal Champion. Cody Rhodes, you made your brother proud, and now you're going to make your daddy proud. Cody Rhodes, everybody.
Yeah, I think Cody needs this. I mean, you can't bring him back the way you've brought him back. I mean, it's bad enough you guys did what you did to Sammy in Montreal. Like, I get it because we were telling a bigger story. I get that. But I've also heard the rumors that there's talk that they may want to try to push Roman's title reign to over 1,000 days. Which I get, but it's not like we're going to, like what's an extra 60, 70 days on his reign? Like, I get the number, and I get that because I'm into numbers too. But you can't keep missing out on opportunities like this because at Clash at the Castle, people were thinking Drew was going to do it. And then we thought Kevin might do it, even though most of us knew he wasn't.
Right.
And then we thought that, this last thing, that, we thought Sammy was going to do it. And now we're at the point where it's like, who is going to do it? Because if Cody's not going to do it, who? Jay White?
Right.
Who? Kenny Omega? Like who are they going to bring in that's going to make me believe as a long time, not this casual fan that doesn't watch it every week and you only watch it at WrestleMania or the big shows or whatever. I'm talking about the week-to-week fans, the me, the you, the guys that watch this show, the gals, the kids that watch this show week to week. Who you going to put in front of me that I'm going to believe? Because you've done decimated everybody else that's got in front of Roman Reigns. And Cody's the only one that seems viable at this point. Because I'm thinking of who else? I mean, Brock Lesnar, Roman's beat.
Yeah.
Edge,
Cena,
Roman's beat. Cena, Roman's beat. Like everybody. Yeah, he's beaten every single, his own family members. He's already beat. So it's like how many, I mean, you can't go too much farther. I mean, you've beaten AJ Styles. You've beaten Big E. Who?
Right.
Like who else? I mean, granted, Big E, that was at a Survivor Series and it wasn't for a championship, but you still beat him. I mean, the only other person is The Rock, but let's be serious here. You think The Rock's going to leave his multi-million-dollar job in acting in Hollywood to take bumps again when he's almost 50 or is 50? I don't think so. So, I mean, Cody has to win this, in my opinion. I know we said that about, and I know other people have thought that in other instances with like, Drew and stuff, where he's got to win it this time. And I'm with you. I don't want to be wrong again. But if there was ever time to capture lightning in a bottle with Cody, because I looked at Cody's run in AEW, and it was successful to a point. But there was that point towards the end before he left and came to WWE where the fans were starting to boo him, even though he was a baby face. And what he's doing in WWE is working. Not to say the fans won't turn on him at a drop of a hat, because WWE fans are fickle. But I think that if you want people to buy into Cody and buy into his story and buy into why he came back, you can't have him win the Royal Rumble and then not win at WrestleMania. Because you got to think of some of the guys that have won the Royal Rumbles recently, like an Edge that won the Royal Rumble. What'd he do? Lose to Roman at WrestleMania. Like a Drew McIntyre, yes, he did beat Brock Lesnar. There's guys that have, gotten over. But even like I just said, Brock Lesnar, he won at last year's Royal Rumble. And what happened there? Roman ended up beating him last year at WrestleMania for like the 9,000th time. So I feel like in a way you have to pull the trigger on somebody. And if you're not going to pull it on Sammy, and if you're not going to pull it on Drew or anybody else, I mean, I guess you still got Gunther that you could possibly down the road, if you do keep the title on Roman, that you could kind of slot him in there and let's see how that match goes. But for me, at the end of the day, you have to put the title on Cody at this point. And I'm sorry, I'm yelling into the microphone, but I mean, Roman's reign has been great. The story has been great. I've loved finally having something to watch on wrestling that actually captivates me. I still hate that, you know, a lot of their shows are clip shows and promo shows, and there's not as much wrestling on the shows as much as they used to be, especially like us guys that watched in the Attitude Era. You'd have that one big promo segment, you know, at the top of the hour or at the beginning of the show, and you might have some backstage stuff, but it was nowhere near as egregious as it is now, where it's just promos and clips, and then they'll give you, you know, they'll come back from commercial break, give you the entrances, and then 2-3 minutes into the match, oh, we're going to commercial break, and they don't even tell you they're going to commercial break. It's something that just pisses me off, and I'm sorry, and I'm sure it pisses you off too as a longtime fan. I remember when Jim Ross said, we'll be right back after. Yep. Now it's just, oh man, Baron Corbin's on the ropes, and then it fades to black, and then we're like, but that's a different nitpick. I'm sorry. Let me get off my rant. I'm sorry, but that is the end of the Mark and the Fan Wrestling Podcast. I'd like to ask you all to subscribe because I'm not doing my job, and I didn't ask you to subscribe at the beginning of this podcast. So I'd like to ask you all to please subscribe to this channel, like, share, also hit that notification icon so you don't miss out on any new content. But I've been Mark Magnum, and this is my boy, the Cisco Kid. This has been the Mark and the Fan Wrestling Podcast.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll see you when we see you.
This has been the Mark and the Fan podcast with your hosts, Mark Magnum and the Cisco Kid. Find us on YouTube and Facebook. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.